Selamat pagi pemirsa channel YouTube DARMARAJA TV dimanapun Anda berada. Pagi ini saya mendapatkan kiriman video dari sahabat saya, saudara saya, yaitu DIMAS SATYA. Ia adalah seorang penulis buku ya, yang pernah terbit 1 tahun yang lalu, yaitu bukunya seperti ini. Dan hari ini beliau membuat sebuah video analisa tentang virus corona yang sedang terjadi di dunia ini. Bagaimana tentang video kiriman dari sahabat saya nanti akan kita bersama-sama diputar di channel YouTube DARMARAJA TV tentang analisa apa sih sebenarnya yang terjadi di dunia ini tentang wabahnya virus corona ini. Ya, sangat menarik dengan analisa di isi videonya ini, bahwa virus corona adalah virus yang sengaja dibuat untuk menyebarkan, membunuh manusia. Kalau nanti para pemirsa channel YouTube DARMARAJA TV ingin mendapatkan buah buku dari karya penulis DIMAS SATYA, bisa menghubungi DARMARAJA TV, yaitu tentang prinsip-prinsip dalam merancang kehidupan yang selalu Anda inginkan. Di sini lengkap menuju kesuksesan ya. Lengkap sekali tentang semua ada di sini. Kebangkitan dalam menjalankan dunia usaha, jatuh bangun, dan akhirnya bisa sukses. Ini sangat menarik, bukunya tersedia di DARMARAJA TV. Kalau Anda semua para pemirsa ingin memiliki buku ini ya, tinggal komen di channel DARMARAJA TV dan akan dibuat videonya hari ini. Silakan ya. Baik, kita akan putar videonya bagaimana analisa tentang apa dan maksudnya apa sampai timbul yang namanya sebuah virus corona yang tren saat ini.
Design your own life with DIMAS SATYA LESMANA.
Subscribe, tekan tombol bel, share dan like videonya ya guys. Terima kasih.
For 30 years, I've been warning people in my books and in every other way I can that this world is controlled by a cult. It's a cult that has no borders. It operates in all the, at least major countries, and in fact, all the countries in the end, and particular in those countries that dictate the direction of the world. So the cult will be at the core of the system in China. It will be at the core of the system in America, etc., etc., etc. And so what have I said in this 30 years that this cult wants? It wants to create a beyond Orwellian global state in which a tiny few people dictate to everyone else. I've referred to this as the Hunger Games society. And you can picture the structure very clearly. Picture a pyramid. At the top of the pyramid, you've got a tiny few enormously wealthy people that actually are connected to this cult. We now have a name for them. We call them the 1%. At the bottom of this pyramid in the Hunger Games society is basically the rest of humanity that is dependent upon the 1%. And in between the two is a vicious, merciless police military state to impose the will of the 1% on the population and to prevent the population challenging the 1%. And this Hunger Games society is not classic fascism, it's not classic communism, although the outcome in terms of tyranny is the same. It is a technocracy. A technocracy is defined as a society that is controlled by bureaucrats, experts, scientists, engineers, technocrats. And the ability of that situation to happen is through smart technology and AI. The idea is that everything will be connected to AI. This is what the Internet of Things is all about. And if you listen to the crazies in Silicon Valley, they're telling you that in the period around 2030, we will have a situation where the human brain will start to be connected to AI. And thus, whoever controls AI will be connecting and driving the perceptions of humanity. And that can be done from a central point through this smart grid, global smart grid. So that's the structure that they want. They also want a society completely cashless, where everything is digital money, a single one world currency, which will be run through this smart grid. What you want people to believe is everything is random. If you don't know where this world is being taken by this cult, then everything seems random. Coronavirus, random. Climate change, random. Economic crash, random. But when you know where we're being taken, you know the outcome, this Hunger Games structure society, now the apparently random events become clear stepping stones to that outcome. Now, let's take all of that and apply it to the coronavirus and what's happening now, and let people decide for themselves if they think that the fact that the coronavirus hysteria ticks every single box of that outcome, that goal, whether that's a coincidence. I absolutely do not believe that it is. And you know, you mentioned that you don't think that it was a created virus, but the fact is, whether it was or whether it wasn't doesn't matter to the fact that once you roll this out, it takes on a momentum of its own.
I agree with that.
And therefore, what is unfolding was desperately predictable. You destroy the world economic system. Is they are planning an enormous economic crash. And so this coronavirus hysteria gives the excuse to do what they're doing, and the outcome and the consequences of what they're doing is to dismantle the world economic system. What this coronavirus hysteria is creating is a situation unfolding by the hour worldwide that is destroying small business, family business, even medium-sized business, some even relatively big businesses too. The big legacy of what is happening now will not be to do with health long term, it will be economic.
I agree with you.
It's going to be catastrophic. What happens to them? They fall into the bottom of the Hunger Games society. I got news for you. You go deep enough into this system, they don't give a shit about the people. They want a cashless society, a digital cashless society, one world currency, which has phenomenal implications for freedom. They want rid of cash. There was lots of cash in circulation. When this runs on, they're going to be justifying a cashless society on the basis of that you can pass viruses on through it. You look at the movie Contagion. I think it was 2011.
I watched it.
It's basically coming out of China and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to you in previous chats about something called preemptive programming, where they preempt something to put it into the subconscious mind, even the conscious mind, through Hollywood, and then suddenly it kind of happens for real. But I was sent a document from 2010 that was published by the Rockefeller Foundation. The Rockefeller Foundation obviously is a front for the Rockefeller family, which is fundamentally involved in this global cult. In fact, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers were the creators of the World Health Organization, which is there to control health policy and direct the perception of health in all its forms from a central point. Now, this Rockefeller Foundation document was about a scenario involving a flu pandemic. And it described what would happen, that China would use authoritarian, draconian methods to meet the challenge, and then the West wouldn't basically start like that, but then would become the same. And this whole global lockdown was described in this document. And then we moved to 6 weeks before the virus came to light in China. And we had something called Event 201. This was a simulation of a coronavirus pandemic, which involved the World Economic Forum. This is the 1%, and involved the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And they ran this simulation called Event 201 here. And they were discussing, okay, you know, what can we do? And there was a whole area of this simulation where they're discussing how they control information. And they're saying, how do we deal with the anti-vaxxers? How do we make sure that the official narrative of the pandemic is the one that's dominating the internet and all these lines of communication, and not what they call conspiracy theories? And all these things that they talked about in this scenario have happened. We've had Facebook and Google saying that they're going to make sure that, first of all, the World Health Organization version gets free advertisements, and they're going to suppress the other opinion, what they call conspiracies and what have you, and disinformation and fake news. Who decides if it is? They do. We've had YouTube this week say that because they don't have the same number of staff, they're going to now have videos taken down purely by AI algorithms, and because of that, they say a lot more videos are going to be taken down. Another thing is that at the same time that simulation was taking place, 10,000 military personnel and support staff were attending the World Military Games in Wuhan, China. If we have to explore possibilities, and another possibility is that World Military Games was a wonderful front to release some kind of virus in that same area. So all these things are something that have to be explored and put into the mix. And all the things that I've said, this cult wants, this cult is getting as a result of this coronavirus. Okay. The number of people who are seriously affected by this, against all those who are not, the way the whole economic system is being shut down is suicide. And what happens when it reaches a point where in its present state it cannot continue, it cannot survive? A whole new economic system comes in, which is the one this cult wants. This cult wants to transform the world economic order into this technocratic, AI-controlled tyranny. And both the coronavirus and the climate change are providing the problem to offer the solution of exactly what they want, which is a transformed, centrally controlled, AI-controlled world economic system. I'll tell you why. Because if they carried on and allowed that to happen, the world economic system would not be demolished. And the idea is to demolish it so you can replace it. Problem, reaction, solution. That's why.